fantastic round 10 clash between the Central Queensland Capras and the luxury paints Ipswich Jets. Great to have you with us on Phoenix Radio, phoenix.com.au. Smith somehow right down the instant touchline, 12-4 the score with the first attacking opportunity the Capras had.
Hello and welcome to After the 80. I'm Ben Wilmot, and joining me as always is my co-host Anthony Bomber Breeze. Welcome back, Bomber.
No, good to be back there, getting down to the serious bit. We're down to 2 in the Intrust and 4 in the NRL, so...
That's it. Hot part of the season.
That's it.
Well, also joining us on the panel this week is the Ipswich Diggers under-20s coach, Jae Woodward. Welcome back, Jae.
Thanks for having me again, Ben.
Good to have you on, mate. We'll get into your finals picks in a minute. And back on the panel this week is the Ipswich Jets 5'8", Chris Ash. Welcome back, Chris.
Good to be back, mate.
I wish we'd had you on the show discussing a win this week, but it was still good to watch you on the weekend.
Yeah, it would have been good to have a win, but I'm sure we'll come back bigger and stronger next year.
Yep, I'm sure we will. Well, first up, let's take a look at the Intrust Super Cup finals, where the Redcliffe Dolphins had a 38-16 win over the Sunshine Coast Falcons to claim their place in this weekend's grand final. And Redcliffe looking like the informed team at the moment after bouncing back from a disappointing loss at Dolphin Park the week before.
Yeah, they are. I think they played really well this week, and Burleigh ambushed them the week before, but I still wouldn't be counting out Burleigh. Their pack is massive, and their two halves are just guns, so they're going to be tough to beat.
Bomber, Redcliffe looked in control pretty early on in this game.
Yeah. Well, Sunny Coast got away to a good start there, and Redcliffe will have to obviously put that in check this week there. Otherwise, Burleigh could do the same thing to them again. But obviously, the second half's where Redcliffe have really got going in the last two games. So obviously, through their halves there. So,
and Jay, the loss of Jonas Pearson didn't seem to slow them down too much on the wings.
No, they put in a good defensive effort in the second half. Redcliffe have probably been the best defensive side this year, so but it'll be a big ask this week too.
You're surprised with the amount of NRL talent, obviously being affiliated with the Melbourne Storm. The Falcons have been a pretty strong side this year as well. I guess, Chris, for yourself, were you surprised that they haven't gone further this season?
I was surprised they did get as far as they actually did. Like earlier in the year when we played them, they weren't as strong as we thought some of the other top teams were, like Townsville and PNG, the two teams that they beat to get there. So it was definitely surprising to see them go, but a credit to them and Ingebrigtsen, I think his name is, to get them where they are.
Yep. And Mogg in charge of the Redcliffe Dolphins is clearly having a good stint as coach now.
Yeah, he is, and that's obviously filtered down through their whole club. They've just got to, like the last couple of years they've been struggling, but this year they all seem to be firing, all the Redcliffe teams, so they must be doing something right over there.
And obviously with the final in Suncorp Stadium, no home ground advantage for either side this weekend?
No, but I'm sure all the old ladies from Redcliffe will be out there packing out the stands and throwing some chat. They've got the worst banter in the comp.
As we see the results coming up there, it was afternoon game on the Sunday as well, and televised as well. It was good to watch that. It's great to see the television getting behind the Intrust Super Cup as well.
Yeah, well, I think when they first started this, I don't think they believed that it was going to get that many followers. But actually, in Queensland, it's huge for Channel 9. A lot of people do get to watch it, so which is good for the league in Queensland. So and obviously good for the players to put on a show there, and that's where the talent scouts can pick them up.
We've seen some great highlights throughout the year. It's always good to be able to add that to your show reel, I guess.
It is, and there's plenty of Intrust Cup guys even this year going into the NRL, so it's probably putting them out bigger picture anyway as well.
We have already had quite a few signings. I know one of them is off to the Eels, which Bomber's pretty happy about. with Jamal Fogarty
there. Yeah, hopefully he goes all right this week there, and since he has signed there, his form hasn't slipped, so he's been playing quite well. So,
you think we'll see a bit more of a flurry of signings now that the season's kind of finished and clubs start to look to bolster their own stocks for next year?
Well, obviously it's a silly season now. You hear about all players going here and going there and offered contracts there and all that, but until they sign on the dotted line.
We'll wait and see. Well, it was more good news for Redcliffe in the BRL Grand Final on Saturday with a 1-point win over the Ipswich Jets at Bishop Park. And Chris, that was a close one to be in.
Yeah, mate, that was a very tough one to lose. 10 minutes in extra time and get done by a 47-metre field goal.
You
pretty tough.
couldn't have gone any further though. The full 80 minutes, lock it up, come from behind and lock it up as well. You were looking great, and the Redcliffe forwards were starting to look pretty tired. I think a lot of the fans on the sidelines were starting to think, here we go.
Yeah, well, we were just unlucky. Like, it's just similar to the game on Friday night, split by a field goal, and that's as close as you can get. Like, we missed two meters. One went to the metre to the left of the post. Mine dropped short by about a metre. So
The wind didn't seem to help you as well. It was blustering along. Bomber was saying on the sidelines, it looked as your kick went up, it was high enough that it was going to get caught and pulled across, but the wind just died off at that exact moment.
Well, we were up in the can bar there, and when Chris hit it there, the can bar all went up there because it was looking good there, but obviously the wind Brigham just kept it and just dropped short. And like I said, the wind died off in the second half there a bit, and Mika's attempt there obviously just went dead straight. So. And then the fifth tackle there, they run the blind side there. He didn't know what to do. He's running around in circles, throws it back, and bang.
That seemed to kill you at that point. No one knew where they were going. They looked like they were running the ball on the last when you shut down the original field goal.
Oh, mate, I had no idea what he was doing. So three of the boys went to tackle him, and we were all staying square like we're supposed to in a defensive line. And then the half was 20 metres back, so we couldn't get any pressure on him. He had all the time in the world, but still, magic kick. So.
As your coach Mark Bishop said after the game, if you're going to go down, might as well go down in a spectacular fashion, though.
Yeah, mate, and I had a chat to him when we were at the Leagues Club, and he said it's better to lose like that, when as bad as losing is, that way, than someone missing a tackle or something for that to happen. And then
the Ben Hunt ball drop or
something like that, where someone's going to feel it for a long time.
Well, I did write in my my editorial this week in the Queensland Times about the fact that the Redcliffe Dolphins seem to have kind of taken on the Jets' mantle of last year. They've got a team in the Intrust Super Cup Grand Final and taken out the BRL. It's a big effort to have both teams in there in the mix, isn't it? Yeah,
it is, and it shows the club's depth in terms of players and I think a good club culture as well to get both teams in because we were close again this year. But it's hard to go back to back, as people say, especially when you have a big turnover of players. So Redcliffe are doing a really good job this year.
Jay, do you think it makes them hungry to come back next year?
Yeah, no, it definitely will. Redcliffe, they've got next Ipswich Jet and Norths Junior and Daniel Green in their BRL coach. So he obviously has been helping them, and it's good to see an Ipswich boy do well, but not to beat the Jets. So.
Excellent. Well, I'm sure we'll be looking forward to seeing you come back bigger and stronger next year. Well, up next, we're going to be taking a look at the NRL finals here on After the 80. Welcome back to After the 80, and the NRL finals are starting to take shape, but the Broncos are out of the running this year after a 6-point loss to the Cowboys in Townsville. Jay, another close match, and extra time was needed. Is it a case of just these two teams are too difficult to separate?
Oh, well, that first 10 minutes was played at breakneck speed. I thought they won't be able to continue that on for the whole game.
Especially with the humidity that they were playing in as well.
And it was like a State of Origin match, flat out. Best probably game of football I think I've seen all year.
I guess it was the Queensland talent on show, wasn't it? Because the forwards, every time their team got the ball on attack, you saw all four forwards from that side were just on their haunches straight away. They were given everything.
Yeah, every single tackle there was numbers in it, and it come down to who wanted it more, and they both wanted it. And I think Thurston, at the end of the day, just proved his magic as per usual. You see him 10 minutes before that, he's on his haunches. You think, he's not going to be able to pull anything out. And
there he is.
To Thurston, he gets his hands on the ball when he needs to and makes stuff happen.
And it was a great display by Ponga here in his debut in a final. That's a great way to do it.
He looked like he had spiders on him, didn't he? They didn't want to touch him.
He's a freak.
Unfortunately, his own speed was his undoing here, running through a couple of his own players. It probably could have been let go because there wasn't a defender on the other side, but at the same time it looked messy, and I don't think he would have been surprised to have that pulled up. I guess in a game that finishes this kind of ending, to not be disappointed to lose. Like, even as a Broncos supporter myself, I saw this and went, Well, what can you do?
That's it, mate. Jonathan Thurston, he copped a big knock early in the game, and then there was a couple of efforts. He made an effort play he was on the other side of the field and came over and knocked one of the Broncos players in a touch when they tried to score. Yep. And then that play at the end where he just showed and go, went through Sammy Thaiday there, just showed his class.
Bomber, there was a couple of great efforts by Justin O'Neill there that I think really was the turning point for the Cowboys to get back into it.
Yeah, well, like you said, you all mentioned JT. He organises it there, but obviously he puts them into the gaps there, and Justin O'Neill there, he finishes them off, and he had another great game. But obviously, Malolo's the one I'd like to make.
The other JT.
Special thing is the other JT. He's
superhuman.
The last couple of weeks there, like he's always been a good player, but the last couple of weeks he's just, with Matt Scott, I think, injured, I think he's decided, well, I'll take a few more hit-ups now. And
would you say he's the informed player of the comp at the moment after that effort?
No, I think he's probably the best forward in the game at the moment. So.
I would agree with that. I think the players do as well. He got the Players Player Award voted by his peers at the Players Association Awards last week, and that's probably the biggest rep you can get, playing people and then voting you the best player.
You just got to keep him away from those cartons of eggs.
Oh, stop it.
It was a fantastic effort and a great game of football. Unfortunately for Broncos fans, this rivalry is going a little bit one way, unfortunately.
Well, obviously there's two teams. Like some people are saying, oh, this should be the grand final, but unfortunately these two teams just do that against each other there. And when they play other teams, either the intensity drops off or the other teams are pumped up. So, but every time they play each other, it's a classic. So
yeah, well, we definitely enjoy it every time it happens, and I'm sure it's going to happen plenty more in the future as well. In the round's other matches, the Canberra Raiders had a 10-point win over the Panthers in Canberra, and Canberra had this one pretty much locked up from the outset, didn't they?
Yeah, they got away to a good lead. They went to sleep a little bit in the second half, but then finished the Panthers off. I think the Raiders have had a pretty good year. But they're going to probably struggle to beat Melbourne next week. So.
Well, they're both billed as quite attacking teams. They're not afraid to throw the ball around at all. But it seemed like Penrith's game plan on the fifth and last was always to run it, and it just wasn't working. Was it a case of they just needed to try something different when they realised that wasn't working? Yeah,
they should have been looking to get repeat sets or something else. They just sort of seemed to be. They had a game plan. When it wasn't working, they stuck with it. Sometimes you've got to play a little bit ad lib and play what's in front of you.
And that was a big hit there, but as we saw just before with that try, there was the ongoing bromance between Joey Leilua and Jordan Rapana. It's fantastic to watch, isn't it?
It is, mate. Those two together are just absolutely killing it, and they're just feeding off each other and playing the best footy of their careers, both of them. And Joey Leilua has sort of got his discipline under control under Ricky Stewart, and he's just playing outstanding.
But obviously the Raiders had a couple of big ins there. At one stage there, they thought there'd be no Blake Austin or no Hodgson there, who's probably the Dally M favourite. So you got them two in, and obviously it was a big ins for them too. So
and unfortunately for Penrith, this was one of their few highlights for the day, but that was one of the best passes I've seen in the competition this year. Ashley, you reckon you could pull that one off?
Oh, I probably couldn't, but the other one that Joey Leilua did, I think the week before, where he passed it around the back of the fullback and around his back to Jordan Rapana, that's probably the best one I've seen all year.
I guess a similar kind of style to the Jets. I guess you're playing off confidence as well. Going in after a win like that over Penrith, who were looking dangerous themselves, they'd be feeling pretty good at this point of the finals.
Oh, they'd be backing themselves. They'd be really confident, and they would have a good confidence with their group. But yeah, Melbourne's a big task.
Yep. How do you think they're going to go against that kind of disciplined kind of defence? That could be their undoing, or it could be the undoing of Melbourne.
I think it could go either way. When we play teams that are disciplined, eventually they always fold when we're playing well, and we'll put points on them. And they get frustrated. It's just whether or not Melbourne has the discipline to go the full 80, which I think they do.
Well, we both know Ricky Stewart and Craig Bellamy are both famous for their blow-ups if they do start to get frustrated. So one way or the other, we're going to get one.
Yeah, good.
Well, this weekend sees the Cronulla Sharks take on the Cowboys at Allianz Stadium, and Jay, head-to-head stats would give this to the Sharks.
Yeah, but you've got the 2 JT factor that's going to definitely come into play as well. But the Sharks have had probably the best year that they've had in a long time. They're riding on the coattails of their supporters and all that, and they're all saying it's their year this year, but we'll see what the Cowboys have to say about that.
Last time these two teams met in the finals, I believe it was a nil score to the Cowboys' favour. Do you see the same kind of result happening, Bomber?
Well, I think it's going to be another classic game there. Obviously, the Sharks there, they've got Pryor back in form there. So he's been one of the better forwards the last couple of weeks. And obviously, Gallen's back this week.
Yep.
And then obviously they got speed to burn out wide with Valentine Holmes and Fecky on the wings and Ben Barber. So
Yep. He's really been an X factor for them this year, hasn't he? After going from last season, I think he was that bench player that they just didn't know how to use, to being locked in at number one now.
Yeah, well, I think he was probably a little bit overweight. I think he's stripped a bit of weight off now, so he's going good. Also, a good mention to Ipswich Jets, Kurt Cabell. He was only going to get about 20 minutes last week there. Obviously, Wade Graham got injured the week before there, so he got 73 minutes there and he had a blinder. So.
Well, the stats were incredible, wasn't it? The runs, the metres. Yeah. You couldn't have asked for a better performance in a finals.
No, he was awesome, and he thrives on that sort of stuff. And it's good to see him going well. So that's why I'm a bit torn this week. Queensland team versus Curdy playing for the Cronulla Sharks, maybe, and a bit of history there. So.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I guess playing for the Newtown Jets this year, it's been a bit of a case of the Sharks just not having too many injuries throughout the season, which has been part of why their season's been so good. But it's kept him out of having a chance to prove his skills, hasn't it?
It has, but when he's played the two games he's been awesome. Like last week, I think he starts with 38 tackles and over 130 metres in his second game in NRL, so that was massive. And hopefully next year, I'm pretty sure he'll be getting a few more runs.
Yep. Jae, do you think it's kind of a benefit having like just a few touches first, get a bit of an introduction without having too much pressure of playing back-to-back games?
Yeah, well, obviously the speed of the NRL, as I was talking to Kurt the other day, he said the speed was a big part to get used to, but once you're out there playing footy, probably gives a week to have off when he's played well. So
he didn't look out of pace at all, that's for sure, which is great to see. And in the weekend's other match, the minor premiers, the Storm take on the second place Canberra Raiders at Amy Park. And Bomber, who do you see taking this one out?
I think the Storm, like after a week off there, obviously they're fresh there, and when you've got Cameron Smith and Cooper Cronk in your team there, like you won't get two more experienced dummy half and halves in the comp there, and Vunivalu out on the wing there. He's the leading try scorer of the competition. He knows how to finish it. So I think they'll just have probably just a little bit too much for the Raiders, I think. So.
Seems every year when it gets to this kind of time of finals, and the Storm will always seem to be in the mix as well. The calls of the grapple tackles and the wrestling tactics start to get louder as well. Ricky Stewart was a pretty vocal one of that last year. You think he'd be talking the same talk this year, or?
Oh well, like I said, it's this time every year that somebody just seems to get hurt, and it's always the wrestling tactics of the Melbourne Storm. But I'm sure other clubs do it all as well. But I think because they started it, they copped the flack all the time over it. So
well, it could have been interesting if there had been something found in that tackle with Ethan Lowe. Could have ended a spinal cord injury that could have ended his season. That would have been a big talking point going into this week.
Yeah, well, it could have been there. If you have a look at the tackle there, it's a pretty innocuous tackle there. So, but obviously it did hurt him. So.
Well, we'll find out whether or not the disciplined defence can withhold the Canberra Raiders' attacking style on the weekend. Well, still ahead, we're going to be previewing this weekend's Intrust Super Cup final here on After the 80. Welcome back to After the 80, and the Intrust Super Cup Grand Final is on this weekend with the Burleigh Bears taking on the Redcliffe Dolphins at Suncorp Stadium. Bomber, great venue for a great game?
Yeah, no, well obviously Suncorp, it's the home of rugby league in Queensland there, so obviously the two best teams all year were these two teams, and they're going to match it on grand final day. I'm sure it's probably going to be, I know it's going to be different results, it's going to be a different game to when they played in the semis, where Burleigh raced out to a 28-0 lead straight up, so I'm sure Moggy at Redcliffe there will have Redcliffe ready to go from kick-off there, and let's hope for a classic there. Obviously Burleigh with the halves there, they've got Cameron Cullen and Fogarty there, and then they'll be relying on Luke Page to run it up, and I see Pettigrew from the Titans is also on the bench. So
excellent.
So Burley,
Yep.
I think, are the team to beat. So.
Well, it's a 3:55 kickoff on Sunday, so a great afternoon game. So I don't think there'll be too much with the weather thrown in there to mix it up too much. It'll be late afternoon, so a bit of heat, but they're both big packs, aren't they, Ashley? So they won't be no side will get too much advantage out of that one.
No, I don't think so. I think they play pretty similarly. I think Burley will be the side to beat on the day. Just their pack is massive, and the two halves playing off the back of that. And also for Redcliffe, Darren Nichols is out, and he was one of the, when we played him, he was one of the threats that we identified as. He likes to carry the ball to the line, and he scores a try nearly every game, taking the line on. So having him not there is going to be massive, and so that means a lot of pressure is going to fall on Zach Strasser's shoulders.
Yep. Jay, Burley had the week off. Redcliffe, they get the momentum. Which would you prefer going into this one?
You always want the week off, but I think Redcliffe are going to take their opportunities. I don't think they're going to let Burley get away. They're going to probably stick to their defensive structures that's worked for them all year.
Yep.
And they picked that up. Big Tyson Cleal coming off the bench, putting some shots on, could change the momentum their way. But if they don't, them two Burley halves are going to run right on them, I think.
As you mentioned, those halves both having a bit of NRL experience, with Fogarty coming in for Parramatta next year and Cameron Cullen jumping in for the Gold Coast Titans this year. That experience on the big day will really help.
Yeah, well, obviously that's going to help there, and obviously, as Ashley said, with Nichols out, he's been probably the best for Redcliffe there. But Strasser stepped up last week and actually got the Channel 9 Man of the Match, so that'll be a big plus for them. So. Yeah, well, it's just whoever turns up on the day, but also see that Jonas Pearson hasn't been named for Redcliffe, so I'm not sure whether that's a tactical ploy or something. He's been there all year. He obviously played for the Broncos last week, so
didn't seem to come away with any injury from that game.
So
I think they went with Behan for his goal kicking, so
okay.
Moggs are obviously looking to think it's going to be a close one. Goal kicking might be the turning point. So
Being the one with that terrible haircut.
Yeah.
Well, it could be close after the games we've had last weekend. You definitely want your goal kickers there on form.
Yeah, definitely, mate. Goal kicking is one of the toughest jobs, particularly in those tight games. Like on the weekend, Mick did a massive job for us to kick 2 conversions from the sideline, and
just a foot in from both sides, wasn't he?
It's just not something I want to do. It's a tough job.
Yep. I know even Darren Lockyer, like back when he was playing with the Broncos as well, one of the most experienced players you could have, but didn't want the kicking duty because of the extra pressure that was put on top of his shoulders with that.
Yeah, it's just some players thrive on it and enjoy kicking goals and enjoy that pressure on their own. But if like Darren Lockyer, he could kick but just didn't like it. Yep.
Well, hopefully it doesn't come down to a field goal finish this weekend. I don't know if my heart can handle any more of those after last weekend. But Bomber, big task for whoever does come through this weekend, going down to Sydney for the grand final.
Yeah, well, obviously the winner of this will go to the following week, and they'll play the winner of, I think, Mounties and Illawarra Cutters down there. Mounties have been the best team by a mile down there. I think they're the Raiders, like reserve grade side. So, but like I said, if Burley or Redcliffe go down, they're not going to embarrass themselves there. Like the Jets went down last year, and I don't think they expected that the Jets would be able to match it with the NRL sides they got down there. But they got the job done. So
they did. Did that really send a bit of a message down to the New South Wales counterparts?
Oh well, I suppose it showed there. They probably thought their competition was a bit stronger, but obviously the interest up here is probably the next best competition in the land. So.
I think that's only getting closer at the moment as well, isn't it?
I think so, but I don't think that the Queensland teams that have gone down have actually lost yet to the New South Wales Cup team. So hopefully whoever wins this weekend can keep that alive, because it's still always good beating New South Wales.
Yep. Keep the Jets winning streak going down there for them. Excellent. Well, look, that's it for us tonight. Don't forget to follow us on Facebook for more rugby league news and exclusive online content. Thanks to Jay, Chris and Bomber for joining me this week. I'm Ben Wilmot. Until next time, good night.